The second part of painting a blood angel. I'm going to be doing some of the details now. First thing I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be going in to the backs of the legs here and the side of the crotch here and in here. To paint them black and then metallic.
Come on. Maximus. Shit, I can't do this. Emma, do you think you can come and take him to the toilet? Emma? Yeah. Do you think you could come and take him to the toilet? Sit down.
I love you, Emma. You can see I'm just very carefully painting in the legs. There's nothing particularly special about this. Just taking out the red. Ah. I keep a wet brush by just in case I miss or the table moves. Sorry, my son's the other side, and occasionally the table is getting jogged.
Some orange juice. Max, don't do that right now. That was recording. No, that was recording, Max. I know, baby. I know you're rude.
I'm just going to pause this for a second.
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
Sorry, I'm back. I was just waiting for something to quieten down. Also going to be painting the gun. Mostly because I don't want the gun red. I haven't decided what colour I'm going to do the gun yet. I usually use a combination of colours, but primarily I tend to use black and a colour from Army Painter that's very similar to tin bits.
I have to go upstairs to Julia. Emma, please be around for Max.
Sorry. Ooh. I'm just going to switch over to a smaller brush just to get some of the smaller areas. Oh, sorry, taking it away from the camera there, my apologies. Okay. Oh. Just clean this brush off. Next I'm going to get some of this lead belcher, which if you've been watching my Conquest series, you'll be aware that it was part of one of the paints I got off the Warhammer Conquest magazine. I'll take a small brush like this. Oh, where are we? I've got a small brush like this, which is, focus, 3.0 German. It's synthetic. I use a lot of synthetics. Previously I wouldn't have because they were usually quite bad. But over the past few years the quality of synthetics has massively improved to the point where there very rarely is a reason not to use them. And what I'm doing is, I'm not painting along. I'm taking it across this way so that it just taps the razors. And you can see it's just lined up the silver bits there. Being very careful not to get the wrong raised areas. if you do catch these areas there, it's not actually the end of the world, because those are areas you're going to highlight with red anyway, so you will be able to rescue them by doing this, but it doesn't mean you want to do it. And again, you've got to remember this is going to be this has got to be a greasy and oiled kind of looking, really, because this is where where the joints are. So it doesn't matter if it looks a bit broken. You can see that again, it's just catching the raised areas. It doesn't have to look too neat. Again, remember, this marine is going to be painted in a way that's tabletop ready, rather than sorry, just twitching a bit there. Because this one's going to be tabletop quality, you don't have to have it be as neat. I mean, I can do a lot neater. I can spend hours painting each individual one, and then a few more hours creating them as I fill in all the mistakes in a very anally retentive way that I do. But if you're just aiming for tabletop ready, you don't need to. I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Michelangelo, who's a famous sculptor, if you don't know. But somebody said, great sculptures are never finished, they're just abandoned. And I think that's actually quite applicable to painting, because I think a lot of these things, you could keep painting them forever, adding more and more detail onto them, and never really stopping. But you would drive yourself crazy. Now, one of the things I'm doing is I'm trying to do it via colour. So I'm doing as many bits I can see that need to be done in black, and as many bits I can see that need to be done silver, before moving on to the next bit. So now I've gotten all the visible joins with in there. I'm going to take a slightly larger brush, and I'm going to do the chest eagle. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a few moments to dry off before I do anything else. So I will pause the video for a few seconds then, well, probably a minute or two then. Also, I'm busting a gut here, so I have to go to the toilet. Sorry, guys. Straight up. Sorry, every now and then I'm moving the thing, so it's losing focus. And unfortunately, I'm not looking through the camera because that looks a bit weird. So now, you may have noticed I didn't water down this paint. Partially that's because I wanted it on slightly thicker, because I want to cover up the red, but partially that's because a lot of my paints are pre-watered, or I notice that they're watery enough as it is. Now this one particularly, I shook it, but it looks like I've got a bit much, it looks like I haven't got that much pigment in one area, and I've got a bit more medium in one area, so I didn't bother watering it down because it didn't need it. Normally I would water down the lead belcher or any colour to a suitable consistency, but this one was actually fine coming out of the pot. Now, as you can see, that's actually gone on quite well. Oh, silly camera. That's actually gone on quite well and quite solidly, so I'm just going to leave that for a minute or two to dry. While I do that, actually, I'm just going to go and check the back of the leg, see if there's any bits that need any, separating. Sometimes you'll see tiny bits where you've painted in between. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but sometimes, because I'm me, I'll just go back and quickly run down the lines. I find it's easier to run down the lines between than it is to get some of the raised bits sometimes. So if you see a bit that doesn't work, or where it's just blobbed in the middle, for example, there's a bit just there, you can just quickly fix that with some black paint there, as you see. Or another quick method, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is running some wash into them. I'm just going to pause this for a few seconds while that chest plate dries, and then I'm going to go on and start putting some wash on there. I'll show you the wash I'm using before I use it. I've just got to get it out of the box. Hey guys, I'm back. Right, I've got here some Nuln oil. Again, from the Conquester magazine. I'm just going to use a brush, take a bit of this Nuln oil, and put it on my palette. You'll notice I take a lot of stuff out of tubes, off tubes, and put it on a palette. This and the fact that I close it properly is why I still have Nuln oil. If you take paint, particularly with, I love the big GW pots because they are much better value for money. But if you keep taking out of a pot with Nuln oil, these things are taller than they are wide, so they fall over, and you end up with Nuln oil everywhere. And my wife won't be happy because she likes this tablecloth. She's annoyed that it gets stained already. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a medium-sized brush, well, I say medium, in this case a 1, which is slightly bigger, no, sorry, slightly smaller than a GW starter brush kind of thing. And I'm going to apply this Nuln oil into the joints, just really lightly. And it's just going to go into the joints and separate off the areas, so that just apply into the joints like that. It's going to go into the joints and separate off the areas. Now give me a better look. And this is usually where you realise you've missed bits. For example, I was planning to put some silver here, and he's got some neck joints here that I've got to put some silver on as well. It's perfectly normal to do that. Everybody does it. Everybody. So I'm just gonna go back over it with the silver. The trick to just getting the raised areas is to go as flat against the surface as you can. And there you can see it's covered those raised areas and left, for the most part, the bits gapped. Another trick is not to water down your paint too much, that way it won't flow into the creviced areas. And I just cleaned the brush off because I didn't want to get too much paint anywhere else, although I am getting this area first, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. It is worth noting, if you can, aim to do the areas that are deep in the model before you put too much effort into other areas, because that's when you'll avoid ruining what you've done. And you can see by dragging the brush across in a fairly flat manner, I'm getting the raised areas here. And you can see here I've got a bit there. I'm just going to try and wipe it with my thumb, but if that doesn't work, I tend to keep a brush by that I can use wet. I don't think that's going to work because I've left it a bit too late while I was explaining it to you. Sometimes you can just wash a bit of excess paint off, but in this case it's not going to matter because these bits are going to be partially highlighted anyway. And then I'm going to go back to applying the non-oil. It's really important after you've done any metallics to make sure, to make sure your brush is thoroughly cleaned, otherwise whatever you paint next will look metallic. I'm going to take the non-oil and I'm going to just apply it in here and in here and on the back. It needs to be a little thicker, so I'm just going to get some more non-oil. And I'm just going to run that across slightly deeper. If you do it like that and you find it doesn't give you a deep enough colour, just do it again. Leave it to dry, put a second layer on, and you should be fine. And if it completely marks up, remember you can just paint over it and paint it black again. It's not really a problem. Right, now I'm going to take more non-oil. All the non-oil. It's also important when using washes to dry your brush thoroughly when the wash is at the consistency you want, because obviously a little bit of water on the brush and a little bit of wash can wash it down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm taking the non-oil and I'm going to brush it across the feathers and the skull here, and you can see straight away it's giving you more depth. I'm using it a little thicker here, but that's fine. That's because I wanted to pull up in certain areas and around the chest eagle. Now I'm just going to leave that for a few moments and I'm going to let it dry. If you want to do the chest eagle gold, literally the same thing but with gold. I just happen to be a fan of silver. But yeah, I'm just going to pause for a few moments again while this dries, and then I'll go on to the next detail I'm going to add. Well, now guys, I'm going to start adding some of the details now. I'm going to start with... what am I going to start with? I'm going to start with lighting up that chest eagle, that chest wing skull thing, little. Take a tiny brush, 3.0.
Small brush. Help it. Help it. We're in the battery.
You can see I'm using the same technique to just raise it, just dragging it across, and you can see that one side already is shining more than the other.
Max.
I've got my ketchup proof suit on.
Oh.
There you go. Just got to pause for a minute to handle my child. There you go, guys. Sorry about that. Now I'm back. Just going to take some of this, which is just actually a metal medium, but it's really great for achieving a slightly shinier effect when you want to. And you see there that it's gone from being very very dull to a nice bright eagle that you can see, which gives it a good contrast to the shining in there, which is quite dull because it's supposed to be. Right. Now I'm going to add some buttons and bits and actually no I'm not. I'm missing something completely out here. I'm going to go and work on the gun and the Auspex unit this guy has. I'm going to start the Auspex unit in lead belcher again.
That is recording. You know not to do things recording, okay? Don't make noises, please. Amazing.
I was about to add buttons before I painted the thing. I was going to add some buttons on. You notice I'm still using the small brush. That's because I'm just getting the areas right next to the hand. I don't want to take away any of the work I've just done on the hand. So I'm just going to transfer this to a larger brush to get to the big areas. Just going to get some more lead belch. Yep. Just going to sort my brush out for a second. There you go. Sorry, just getting an appropriate size brush so I can get the whole area done relatively quickly. Okay, that's that done in a nice little belch of silver. What else do I want to do in silver? Just seeing if there's anything else that I've missed that I want to do in silver. I'm figuring just this antenna and its little attachment. Going to look nice in silver, again look nice metallic. You can see I've got the side of the skull there, but doesn't matter. I'm going to be getting it all sorted later. My plan is to make that skull coloured, which will look cool, because in theory it is a genuine skull. It's some sort of servitor skull where focus, where they're using parts of a human brain to control the focus and tracking of the eye. Because when you fail at becoming a Marine, they don't waste you. They keep every single bit. Now I'm going to quickly add some buttons onto some places that I like there to be buttons. Traditionally I tend to use red and green, but let's make sure, yeah, because this model's already red, it would make it hard to make the red sharp, so I'm actually going to use a red and this one, there you go, red and blue, just to add to the various bits and pieces. For example, that's a little wet. Let me dry that up. Dry that up a bit. There you go. There you go. For example, these little buttons on the backs of the legs. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they're meant to do. But I like buttons, so I'm painting them green. Side of the packs here, there's some sort of button, and I don't know what it does, but I like buttons, so I'm painting it green. It might not be a button, it might be like a bolt, something that screws in, something that blows up, but like I said, I like buttons, paint it green. And there's a little one here. Actually, I'm going to leave that because I'm going to paint that another colour in a bit. I'm going to give that a button there because it deserves a button. Oh, there's going to be a bit of a wash, a non-oil wash going over that later, but it's not going to make much of a difference. I often break order to do things just because I fancy doing something. And the main thing about painting any model is, no. Well, great, is that you shouldn't drop it in the paint you're using. But thanks to some quick application of water, sadly, that is one unfortunate side effect of Tourette's. Every now and then, a bit of you twitches that you don't want to twitch, and all of a sudden, you're dropping stuff in water. There was silver all over that because I was quick and used water to wash it off before it dried. I've managed to fix it. Another side effect of having Tourette's is you make so many mistakes, you don't know how to fix them. Right, so where were we? Blue, there was it. I wanted to put some blue on stuff. There we go. See those, sorry. Let's straighten the camera out again. Those blue and green buttons sharp reasonably well. I'm actually going to redo that green one in a minute. Because I think I might have rubbed some of the paint off when I was just quickly cleaning it. Hey Maxie, say hello to the people in the
Are you not going to do a red button, are you not?
Well, the whole guy's red, Maxie, so I can't do a red button. You wouldn't be able to see a red button.
Why?
That's my daughter ushering off my son. Because, you know, you guys are more important than children. Oh no, wait, hang about the other thing. Yes. That was my wife coughing in the background. I'm not sure because she was laughing at me or just agreeing with me.
Flying.
Quiet woman, go make me a sandwich.
Yeah, right. Sandwich up your backside, dear.
I'm loved in this house, I really am.
Yeah. What?
I want a bread sandwich.
Right. Oh. Actually, I've just realised I am going to use green on that button there because I'm going to be doing something else. The top half is going to be painted.
I asked Max how annoying he thinks he is on a scale of 1 to 10. And how annoying do you think you are, Max?
Yeah.
You said you got a 10 or 14.
Oh, I've just realised I'm painting a button on an area that is going to be painted over. I'm thinking, oh no, that bit's going to be black. No, it's not. It's going to be this wonderful colour of rough iron. Which, as you can see, looks a bit dull in the bowl, but when you actually get it out, is just very pretty kind of super tin bits.
Max, stop it.
Dum 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 dum. Slide on that shizzle all over.
Yeah, but she's not trying to play on that side.
I already told you, Max. You're annoying.
Cover this thing in tin bits just because frankly I really like the colour. I'm just painting. The bottom bit's just going to be tin bits. Then I'm going to have a wash over it. Sorry, not tin bits. Where have I dropped that bottle? Rough iron. Sorry, this is Army Painter's rough iron, not tin bits. That's because I've been told it looks very much like tin bits. Although to be honest, I haven't really used tin bits. As long as it was on my list, because I heard it had an effect like this. And then I found Army Painter's rough iron, and I decided that I didn't really need to try it out because I've got colour on right here. It's one I'll probably try out at some later point, but right now I'm happy with what I got. I think you can see why.
Sorry.
Just covering that bit there. I'm also going to do this top bit here. And you can see that it's getting some over the the barrel, but that's not a problem because I'm going to be painting over it anyway. Bear me a second. Hey up guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. It's called Wargamer Dad for a reason. For some reason, my son decided that driving his trains across in front of me and the camera and that was going to be a good idea, but he is 3, so you know. Just going to fix the bit over on from this. Give me a nifty colour scheme. It's going to be highlighted later to give it some effect, but right now I'm just going to put a couple of those buttons I intended to put back on. It's actually there's a triangle on here, so there it is. Oh. Boom, 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 boom. And because this part of the Space Marine isn't red, I can use red. That blue is really not paying attention, so I'm just going to actually override it with that red. Sorry, twitching there. Now I'm gonna. Look, where's that black? Sorry, I'm just gonna neaten up a few bits that I saw on the gun before I go and do some other details. So that's just me putting a power cable into the side of this because it's running out of charge. Sorry, let's let that come off screen a bit. And you see how that looks rather nifty and rather oily. It does look rather dark, but when I do the highlights it's actually going to look a little better. So I'm just trying to figure out what the next bit I intend to do. Oh yep, that's it. Just going to fix a little more, take a little more of that black. Sorry, I'm taking him away from the screen, my apologies. I shall bring this handsome double back. And I'm just going to fix the silver that went in there. Now, yep, I know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to add some red to the purity seal. I'm just going to take this red. Oh, let's back that up a bit. Doing a couple of layers on it because I want it to be particularly bright. Right, and I'm just going to take some Nuln oil and wash it over this unit. Got some red in this brush, I think. Sorry. Just going to wash this thoroughly over. I'm not going to do anything other than just wash it thoroughly over. don't know if you can see, where I've not been using a handle, because I'm trying to get under the screen, I've rubbed some of the silver off, so I'm just actually going to replace that. A lot of this stuff is really easy to replace. It's one of the reasons I do these videos kind of warts and all, rather than fixing any mistakes and then going, yeah, it was perfect. And so you can see that a lot of these problems are really easy to fix on the fly. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, I've wrecked that. That's hours work down the drain. None of this stuff is ever beyond fixing, and it very rarely takes more than 5 minutes. And now I have non-oil all over my hands. Yeah. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to quickly pass some non-oil over these bits as well. Pretty much the same as with the Aquila and the joints. It just provides some quick depth and other things to it there. A bit too much oil pooling up in there, so I'm just going to take some of that out. Right, now I've done that, I'm going to take move that back stride. I'm going to take the same brush actually. I'm looking at the back and that looks to be dry there, so I'm just going to quickly bounce that non-oil over there. And around there. Okay, then I'm going to take a small brush. I'm going to take the smallest brush. And I'm going to take some green, just a tiny bit of green, and I'm just going to put a line down there as if it were a radar and a couple of blips. Now the good thing about doing it against the black screen is, against the black screen is if you have any issues with it, if you've got any bits that don't quite look right, like that little radar tick is not quite square. And if you've ever looked at them, they actually don't look quite square. But I, on the other hand, do like things to be quite square. You can just take a bit of black, fill it in there. And make the line substantially thinner. It's not much, but it's little details like that that can make things look a little bit cooler. And again, you don't have to make it look amazing. It just needs to look good enough for tabletop. Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some, where are we? That's red tone. One of these has to be soft tone. There we go. I'm taking some army paint, a soft tone, just to give some depth. I'm using the soft tone because it's browner. Is it Rakarth Flesh? I'm not sure what the GW equivalent is, but there is, oh sorry, Seraphim Sapia, that's it. It's more like the equivalent of Seraphim Sapia. I'm going to take that and I'm going to just brush it in here. And I'm just going to let it pool because it's meant to actually highlight the little bit in the centre. We'll put it around the edges and around the back here. And that will make the, there we go. That'll make the purity seal look good and look three-dimensional. And when it dries off, I'm going to highlight the high bits with a red. I'm noticing on my screen it's looking a little brown, and it's not looking obviously different from the sorry, it's taking a bit out because it's a bit too much. From the red of the armour, but in real life it actually does, so I'm hoping that I'm hoping that's just my screen and that when you guys see it on the magic of the YouTubes, it'll look appropriately coloured. Now I'm going to take a colour called Drake's Tooth, which is kind of off-bone white. Now I'm going to shake it up thoroughly. And I'm just going to... Oh, there you go. Sometimes these things... No, that's still too thin. I haven't used this one in a while. Come on, you. There you go. Sometimes the separator in the eye paint separates a bit much. GW paints can do the same, but I usually find with eye paint, if you give it a quick shake, that's enough. So I'm going to take this colour here, Drake's Tooth, and I'm just going to paint it on. This one is, again, I haven't thinned this out because it's thin enough. Slightly overloaded the brush there, let's sort that out. Just gonna run that over. Get that where it needs to be. And you can hear the wondrous joy of having children in the background there. They're little angels, really. You just don't know them like I do. They're not, they're little shits. I love my children. Right, let's make sure that looks smooth. Now you can see there that it's not giving complete coverage. That's okay. I am going to go back and fix that later. You may notice that I haven't done any highlighting. I prefer to do the detail stage before the highlighting. I just think it looks better. That's just me. Now I'm going to just put a little bit of this on this weird little terminal thing here.
Emma said go away.
I'm sure he did.
Go away.
I know, Max.
And you can't really see it, but it looks a little cool anyway.
Around the rainbow. Around the rainbow. Around the rainbow.
Apparently my son is driving something around a rainbow. You going to say hello to the people who are watching? Say hello, Max. Say hello.
Hello.
Okay. Now you're going to be quiet for Daddy.
This toy is quiet.
The toy's quiet. It's more you I'm concerned about. Sorry, I'm just dealing with a kid. Alright, and where are we? Nope, because I've been dealing with a kid, I'll drop this, so I've got to quickly do it again.
Get out. Get out. Get out.
But I'm just gonna, it's dried off enough for me to give it another. Sorry? You're really not understanding this be quiet bit, are you, Max? Go over and give it that second coat that I want. And that'll be fine. I'm also going to take the Drake's Tooth. I'm going to apply it to this skull up here. Keep overloading the brush with this Drake's Tooth. Oh, God damn it. Sorry guys, you can't see what I'm doing there.
You go on the train a day, okay?
Sometime, yeah. Maxie, no.
Maxie, that's not very good.
Oh.
Right.
I just get to the dry enough for me.
Okay, but I'm trying to paint so that the people at home can see what's going on, Maxie, and your noise really is quite distracting. Please stop. Again, I've just noticed that because I'm not using a handle, I'm rubbing some of the paint off.
Farther than
Fortunately, it's in areas that it's not terrible because it's the edges, and if I just highlight some of these bits,
why?
it's not.
I'm hiding some of his
Sorry.
bits. Why? Why are you hiding some of his bits?
It's not the end of the world. There we go. Okay, and now I've wiped the white off. Guys, there are a load of painting handles, whether you get on a GW's ones, on a TT Combat. TT Combat actually does some really good laser cut ones that you can assemble. Whether you blue tack something onto the top of an old paint bottle, they're a great idea. The only reason I'm not using one is because I've got to try and fit it under the camera. I think next time I might look at placing the camera a little higher so I don't have to. Right. Now, damn it! I keep rubbing this off. Now that it's dry, I'm going to go for a second layer. Maxie, could you go and play in the front room, please? Maxie, go and play in the front room, please. Thank you very much, Maxie. You're a good boy. He's sometimes a good boy, yeah. Oh, now. I'm going to, same as I did for the red, I'm going to take this and wash it across. Oh. You get in there, that's fine. Put it under there and make sure that some of it is settling in these gaps here to help differentiate them. I'm going to wait for the skull to dry a little bit before I do anything with that. In case you're wondering why I'm not paying any attention to the face, flesh tones can be tricky. I'm planning to dedicate like a whole video, hopefully a shorter video, to the face in the same way that I'm going to be dedicating a whole video to doing the base. Now, before it's dried, I'm just going to take some paint and just take it across the lighter bits. And this gives me a kind of blended effect. It's a little tricky, you want to use a very small brush for it, but it's just allowing me to bring in some base highlights quite quickly there. That will blend in. Right. Now I'm going to take a slightly bigger brush and do the same wash on the skull. Now obviously skulls and parchment are different colours if you've ever actually seen them. I've seen plenty of fake human skulls at school and one real one. Due to a fortunate find by my eldest daughter at the local graveyard. We didn't know whether it was a fox or a storm, but quite at random, a skull had washed up. So, right. And again, before it's quite dry, we'll take tiny bits and just use it to highlight some of the edges and some of the raised areas. And I like to do this because frankly it gives me kind of a smoother transition in some areas. Now I'm going to pause it while those washes dry because washes notoriously take quite a while to dry. Hey guys, I am back, the skull is dry, so I'm just going to use some of that Greek skull to some of that. I'll water it down actually and just undo. That's gone way more than I expected, so I'm just going to undo that. Sorry. It's all that Drake skull watered down. And just God damn it, I jammed it in the nose. I'm using a bit of tissue here to dab it off if I make a mistake. Partially because I'm a little tired at the moment. Just raise across the eyebrows, isn't it? This is not a complex, many-layered skull that I would normally do if I were trying to make the model look awesome. With this skull, I'm just trying to raise it up. I'm doing the same with some of the edges on here. I'm just going to raise up some of the raised areas here as well, just in a slightly feathery style. Covering some of the edges. Right. Maxie! Stop that. Emma has to do the washing up. You have to leave her alone.
Max, go away.
Give me a second. There you guys, I'm back. Maxie, you haven't had a racetrack for quite a few years now. It broke and you got rid of it. Just going to be, oops, sorry, gently adding highlights to some of the edges with this. Just to raise it up a bit, and just a tiny bit of highlight to some of the other places. And we can see there that we've got quite a three-dimensional thing. Now I'm going to do, I want to come and do the same thing, so I'll just show you what I'm doing. I'm taking some white and some of the original Drake's Tooth and mixing it. This time I'm going to take some water as well and just give it a thinner coat. And then I take it over the skull like this just to highlight the top of the skull where the light would be. And then I'm going to dab my finger on it on purpose just to thin it out and make it look a bit pitted. I don't know if you can actually make that out on the camera. So I'm also going to use it just to highlight the skull line here, and then the eyes, highlight the jaws and around the nose. And just take some of the watered down stuff, just bring it around here, and again just use my finger to lift some of it off to give it that kind of pitted effect. Actually, to be honest, that's got a bit too much ridging on it for my fingernails, so I'm going to do the same thing with a bit of tissue paper, which is going to thin it out. And I'm going to do a couple of layers of that, because by putting it on and taking it off, it's an easy cheating way to get kind of a pitted skull effect that's not too thingamajigged. And you can see there the skull has a rough three-dimensional look, but I'm just going to take the thing back. You can see from there, sorry if I focus, no focus, you can tell the top of the skull and the bottom of the skull, and you can see shadows, which is why that's being done that way. The reason I haven't gone bright white is because if you go bright white, it looks wrong. It just does. So that's... Jesus, well done that. Hey guys, welcome back. A certain little somebody tripped over a certain power cable and sent you flying. My apologies if any of you got dizzy there. We are back. Maxie, you say hello, sorry. I'm just going to pick this. I'm sorry, Maxie. You can't come up on this video because I'm showing these guys how to do some painting. Right. One last effect I'm going to add, and this time just on the purity seal. I don't know if that's right. Is I'll take a little bit of Abaddon Black.
Come up with Mummy.
Why?
Very thin amounts. I'm just gonna to water that down a bit. It's not quite worked. I've gone too thin there. Little Abaddon Black, and just using very thin thing there. Just gonna give the impression of some writing on that purity seal. Again, if I bring it close to the camera, get the focus. Come on, focus. It is clearly just blobs, but from a distance, it looks like racing. And again, and I've said this a lot of the way through, partially because I'm making an excuse for not doing the quality of work I usually do. This is designed to be battlefield ready, not, got some paint on that guy, not Golden Demon standard in any way, shape or form. Oh, there's a bit of something on the back of there, but I think I know what it is. Whee. There you go. Now, there are lots of things you can do to add to this. You could individually pick out every one of those little bolts, which is what I often do, and the ones here. but I'm not doing that. Okay, and last but not least, I'm just going to do another tiny silver bit because I've noticed I've missed something. And I do that a lot. I tend to go around, do stuff, and then come back to it because I suddenly realised I didn't do it the first time round. And because I can paint better than quite a few of the painters out there that seem to be completely convinced they're pro painters. There's guys out there on eBay sitting there going, "Oh, I get £100 for my jobs," and it's awful. And then there are guys out there charging £100 who are great. There's quite a lot of good pro mini painting things there, painting things out there. But frankly, if you can see what their work looks like before you actually buy any, that's great. If you can't see the details or it doesn't look that great on eBay, assume that it's not. I know in some cases you get some fantastic stuff with some bad camera work, but I've seen some guys out there. I don't claim to be a pro painter by any means at all, but I've seen some guys out there who really, really do, who insist they're the dog's bollocks, and then you actually see their stuff and it's really intermediate quality at best. I'd say I'm a good painter. I wouldn't charge you £500 for my stuff, but there are some guys out there who are awful. There are some guys out there who are fucking amazing. There's a local painter to me called Joel, and I hate him so much because he's so good. I look at his models and it makes me cry inside. Because he's so good. But yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna add a couple more details. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take Mephiston red again, which I assume is Mephiston of the Dark Angels rather than Mephiston of shall we say another copyrighted universe. First things first, I'm gonna do this eye here. Then taking a lot off, I'm gonna very gently, I'm gonna add some paint to the edge here and just there, just to raise that up. And just a little bit there to raise that up, just to make it that little more, sorry, there you go, that little more obviously different. So I'm a bit concerned that it looks exactly the same colour to you guys. It looks different, trust me, it really does. Right. I'm now going to pause it while I wait for the eye there to dry and the wash on the skull on the gun to dry. Back again. I keep saying that, and in all fairness, as far as I'm aware, you guys have got no idea that any time passed. I'm going to be taking some red wash, and you can do this both ways, if I'm honest. You can start with a darker colour and make it light, or you can do what I'm doing here, which is taking a red wash and just putting it on the eye there. And stop it pulling around on the other areas just by sucking it back up with the brush. And just giving it a darker look there. I'm going to be taking some plate mail just to, the colour I'm rising the arm with is plate mail. Really hope I mentioned that earlier in the video. I feel like such a cunt if I didn't. Some of that is plate mail, some of that is just lead belcher, and what I'm going to do is very carefully take that across the wing, across a few bits of the skull, and then down the edges here to give that a bit of an effect. then I'm going to take some pure red, which is this one I used earlier, because it's very bright, and in a kind of mini macrocosm of how you do it with big models, I'm just going to touch the top there. Then I'm going to get some orange. I'm using this orange, but it really doesn't matter as long as I'm happy with the colour. And I'm going to take a tiny bit of that, just for clarification. That is Vallejo Aramanth red, which is a beautiful rich orange. But you know, frankly, if you've seen some of the Spanish painters out there, they can call their colours, what that country can call their colours, whatever the fuck they like. Just going to very carefully add a tiny bit of orange to the top. And again, if you look at it closely, I'm just going to bring it in close. Focus. It doesn't look that great. It looks, I'm trying to get it to focus for you guys, like what it is, which is a blob. But at a distance, you can see the glow in the eye. I'm going to repeat this throughout the video. A lot of this stuff is really simple, really easy, and you really don't have to worry about it. I'm trying to think what else I'm going to do at this level. Yep, I'm going to take again some of the plate mail and some of this stuff which I did earlier. I'm just going to lighten up around the edges here, just to save me time later. And I'm just going to get the edges here with some of that plate mail, just to save me some time later. Oh, that was a bit of a mess there. Now again, I could spend a lot more time on this, but I'm not going to. I'm just highlighting these little bits so I don't have to do them later. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go now, because I've added all the detail. You may notice I've left the shoulders blank. That's because I tend to use transfers on the shoulders, and using transfers again is another complete video by itself, so I'm not going to bother doing that here. But you can see I've added a bunch of details there. They're fairly solid. Now, there are plenty of other details I could add, which I'm going to point out. I could paint these pouches a different colour. I could offset a lot of this stuff here and make it more different colours. But at this point, I'm working on a simple colour scheme designed to work well on an army, not a colour scheme designed to work brilliantly for close up. This has taken me a long time, but one of the reasons it's taken me a long time is because I have Tourette's and because I'm dealing with family as well. I've had to pause it a couple of times to go and do bits and pieces. But there's a bunch of basic details added. I'm going to do the face in a later video. Next video I'm going to go around and highlight a lot of bits and pieces, which will make a hell of a difference to the model. Okay, I'm going to see you guys next week. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.